the man who does not need any introduction because we are lucky to be in his town. So may
quite good at making my taller. All right, just want to point that out. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to Keene's Juneteenth celebration. I have a proclamation, actually the second one that has been read in Keene, and I'm going to read it in a couple minutes, but I wanted to make sure that I pointed out these events don't just happen on their own. It takes a lot of work, and I want to give a round of applause to the organizers of this event today. Thank you very much. I also want to point out, over the last year, we had a committee here in Keene, the Racial Justice and Community Safety Committee. They did some unbelievable work, laying the ground for our future. And I'm going to leave it at that. If you want some more information, go to the city's website, look at the beautiful report that they put together for us. You can find it there, read through it, contemplate it, think about it, and let's give the Racial Justice and Community Safety Committee an applause too. Thank you. Lastly, I want to just recognize a couple of local restaurants. If you're feeling the Juneteenth spirit and you want to enjoy some amazing food, special dishes that have been put together just for Keene's Juneteenth celebration. Yeah! This is where you can go and get them, okay? Listen up. Yazo, Jamaican Grill, right over there. 21, Bar and Grill, right at the top of the square, Roxbury Street. Machina Kitchen and Art Bar on Court Street. And Elm City Brewery. So stop.
Okay, we are on. I was going to say we are very lucky to be here in Keene and to have Mayor Hensel supporting such event. And it's official now, so next year we have a holiday, but not just a holiday to be home and just be lazy, but to continue to think about what it means to be free. And it's not just the freedom for us, but for only us, but it's freedom for everyone. We are not free until we are all free. So it's freedom for individuals, it's freedom for families, and freedom for communities, and we have to go beyond the thing. We have to fight for the freedom for the whole world. And with that, thank you. With that, I want to welcome our next speaker, Pierre Morton. Pierre is the Chief Diversity Officer. Yes. And he's the adjunct professor at Franklin Pierce University, not college. Pierre is also a committee member on the City of Keene Racial Justice and Safety Committee, and he serves on the Keene YMCA Juneteenth Task Force. So Pierre, floor is yours.
So glad everyone's here. I was a bit verklept, is that the word, back there when I burst out in joy over the mayor's proclamation. But I had to rewrite everything that I had originally wrote like a week ago because of recent events. So this is coming from my heart. So is there a way? All right. So I'm a little tall. Awesome. That's perfect. Thank you. All right. So today is a day of joyous celebration. And also solemn. So today is a day of joyous celebration and also solemn commemoration of the final acts of emancipation for the formerly enslaved in Galveston, Texas. It also marks the beginning of the reunification between two nations, the Confederacy of America and the Union. It also begins the earnest work of bringing into being the equal participation of African Americans within the social political fabric of our nation. This time was and still is called Reconstruction. I believe that Reconstruction has never really ended. Historically, Reconstruction started in around June 19th, 1865, and ended sometime around 1877, when the segregationists, and in those days, they were called patriots, succeeded in enacting laws that removed the ability to vote for many African Americans. And it also codified the ties between the state and private prisons, or called prisons back then. They were called work camps or education camps, or they were simply places where the imprisoned would go to build railroad stations. So they succeeded in enacting those laws that remind us, that removed the ability to vote for many African Americans, codified the ties between the state and private prisons that today is called the Carceral Continuum. Carceral Continuum, look that up, which is called the school to prison pipeline. I know this is dense, but so just like today, people of color are overrepresented within the system in general. We are stopped, we are frisked, we are imprisoned, and yes, we are even killed at higher proportionate rates than the majority of folks in the United States, of class in the United States. So in 1877, back in 1877, a black or brown person could be accused, just accused, of owing someone money or spitting on the public sidewalk and sent to work on the railroads and other private infrastructure projects for years or even decades for just a minor infraction. But you might say, the past is the past. We're different. We're much more enlightened, and we've moved beyond those things, and it just doesn't happen today. On the contrary. The laws and the methods are much more subtle and insidious today than ever before. Today, we are seeing the very same types of laws enacted across the nation that will put poor people and people of color, and those two terms are not synonymous, by the way, in harm's way in relation to the law. For example, decreasing the number of voting places and the time allotted to vote in high-populated urban areas, while simultaneously making it against the law to provide support or assistance to those waiting in line to vote or a ride to voting places. They're criminalizing that act. That act is a human act of decency. So as we have laws and bills that are going across the country and pushing towards the legislatures, as we begin to criminalize natural human behavior, the result will be the infringement and abridgment of the right to vote. So let us continue this reconstruction, because I believe it's never been over, towards a more perfect union. Now, a more perfect union is enshrined and defined within the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. But most of all, this moment should always be a reminder that we must continue to be diligent in protecting our liberty, because there is a long, difficult road between the promise of freedom and the actualization of the rights associated with that freedom. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Did y'all hear me? I said there is a long and difficult road between the promise of freedom, which is the law, that's the promise of freedom, and the actual realization, the lived experience of freedom, which are the rights associated with that freedom of being a citizen of the United States. All right, I'll have to publish this. I can see some people. Yeah, I'll publish this later, right? All right, yeah, I'll get that. All right, that's fine. I'm almost done. Then let this Juneteenth 1865, 2.5 years after the promise of bodily freedom, so bodily freedom, because that's all it was promised, was bodily freedom. Remember, they weren't citizens. Oh my God, there's so much we need to talk about. Of bodily freedom. On that day, Juneteenth, 1865, 250,000 people finally realized that promise. It took 2.5 years for them to finally realize the promise that the law said that you will be bodily free. 2.5 years. It takes a long time between the actual codification of the law that says you can be a citizen of the United States, which that was not what it was saying, but it was saying that you were bodily free. 2.5 years later, 250,000 actually became free. It should never happen again. So today, let's celebrate Juneteenth. And I just want you to remember that freedom isn't free, y'all. Freedom isn't free. It must be diligently looked after, not for one class or individual or group of people, but for each other.